Hi, everyone.
Welcome back to our podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. I'm so excited for
Yes,
this.
Dr. Amanda Hanson. Dr. Amanda Hanson is a doctor of psychologist, a leading expert, author, and coach who has helped hundreds of women break out of their misery patterns through the uniquely designed blend of traditional therapy and proven holistic methods.
And Dr. Amanda, she's have a Instagram.
Yes, we're gonna leave here.
Midlife.
Yes, we're gonna leave her Instagram here. And if you guys like this video, don't forget to leave your comments, thumbs up, and subscribe to our channel and share this video with whoever needs to hear this message. Thank you so much, Amanda, for Dr. Amanda, for being here with us today. We're so honored to have you in our podcast. And yes, let's dive into. We saw on your Instagram that you talk a lot about the feminine energy. Can you explain? And that's been on something that we've seen a lot of people talking more and more about it, the feminine and the masculine energy and that balance. Can you explain to us a little bit more, to our listeners as well? What is that feminine energy? Why is it so important?
I think how we have thought about feminine energy and what feminine energy really is are two very different things. So first, I want to say I have a lot of women and clients who come to me believing that they're very much in their feminine because on the exterior, they look very feminine, or they do what they believe to be like certain tasks in the patriarchal world structure that is very feminine. Working with me, the feminine looks very different. The feminine working with me is raw. She's primal, she's guttural, she's stripped away of all her mask, all her performance. She is the essence of the ancient woman back thousands of years ago, before we removed women from all of the stories and all of the religion, all of the leadership and the science and medicine. So we as women have been walking around in a patriarchal world in a performance feminine energy, not really tapped into that raw, divine feminine that lives in our womb space. And whether or not you have had your womb removed is not even the point. That energy of being a woman goes back before we had language, before we had words. So a lot of my work is to help women find their way back to that version of themselves that most women have no idea how to tap into. Because we're not taught it. Our mothers didn't teach us. Our grandmothers didn't teach us. Yeah. Where are the female leaders right now teaching us how to source true feminine in the middle of like the storm and being in, and true feminine also is not smiles and rainbows. She's raw. She's, and I teach, I have 4 different archetypes that I teach on, and being able to encompass and have all parts of your archetypes working in your life is, I think, the ultimate way of functioning as a woman in this world.
What are those 4 archetypes?
So the divine mother, first and foremost. So many of us had mothers, but were never actually mothered. So I really teach women how to harness divine mother energy for themselves, how to bring the younger version of themselves onto the lap of their own divine mother themselves and give themselves everything their parents could not give them. How do you mother yourself in a world where we don't even have, we're destroying Mother Earth? How do we mother ourselves? There's no guides for that. So the divine mother is one, and then assassin priestess, that rage side of us, that part of us that wants to burn the world down because of all the pain and all the things that are happening and all the gun violence. So there's the assassin priestess, and she's the one who has the rage, and she's so healthy to bring in. And the sacred whore, teaching women how to tap into their sacred desires and their sensuality and their constant, women are made for pleasure, their constant desire for pleasure. We've been socialized to give pleasure, but not to own and hunger for our own. And then the final one, who kind of reigns above all of them, is the sovereign queen. How do you conduct yourself as a queen in your life with radical responsibility for everything?
That is very interesting. Yeah.
That is amazing, right?
Yes. Do you think that part of the imbalance that we have with the feminine masculine energy could be due because of the type of relationships that women are nowadays. Sometimes, you know, for example, single moms, they have to
Sure.
embody both the feminine and
In
a
the
lot of the
masculine,
masculine
yeah.
energy. Do you think that that is a leading cause of a lot of the problems with that feminine masculine energy?
Well, yeah, I mean, men have masculine and feminine energy.
Mhm.
Women have masculine and feminine. The perfect, if there's such a thing, balanced human is able to go between both energies, right? And the polarity in the relationship, like there are times my husband is more in his feminine and I'm more in the leadership. And then there are times I lean back more in my feminine and he takes more of the masculine. Very healthy relationships know how to do that dance. But I would agree that single mothers are in a place of needing to be so much more in their masculine, getting so many things done. There's very few parts of mothering that are actually feminine. We think mothering is feminine, cooking, cleaning, taking kids to school, helping them with their homework. That's all very masculine energy. It's all, let's get the job done, forward facing. Feminine energy is, tell me about your dreams. Let's put on some music and dance. Let's go out and look for frogs. That's the feminine energy. And when a single mother is parenting alone, she often it's harder for her to have time to relax back into her feminine mothering energy.
Have the dreams.
That's very interesting, because I thought that feminine energy would be, you know what, like you said, taking care of the kids, doing the dishes and the house duties, and no.
That's very masculine energy, because it's masculine energy is like, there's a job that needs to get done. We need to check the list, right? It's nurturing, yes, to cook for people, but feminine energy is in the being energy. We can't be doing all the tasks and be in our feminine.
Yeah, I have four daughters. I think, you know, I raise my daughter, say, you need to be strong, you know, and say, you need to be strong. Say, okay, mom, you know. And sometimes I say, okay, I think it's time to relax, calm down. She say, and I have my 21, she say, no, you don't have time for this anymore. Okay. I say,
It's so important for us to nourish and relax, to calm our nervous systems. I find that some of the most beautiful treasures of my soul come up when I am relaxed, when I am feeling into just pleasure and I have candles lit and I'm listening to sensual music and I'm alone. When I'm alone, I discover so much in my time alone.
Yeah, that's
that's
true.
right.
Yeah.
You need this.
I have two small ones, 3-year-old twins, so it's very hard for me to have that long time, but
Oh, you are in the thick of it. Yes.
I miss those days too, but
we also saw you know, a lot of your work is you talk a lot about the midlife crisis.
midlife crisis.
What is exactly midlife crisis? Is there such a thing of midlife crisis? The other day I was joking with Chris. I was like, Chris, I think I'm in my midlife crisis. Why is it also like so, like we talk so negatively about it? Like,
We have
I think
an
it's
age
possible.
part, doctor. I'm sorry, that's the
is there an
midlife
age group that
that started the midlife crisis.
Well, now the American Psychological Association last month just moved the age back and said midlife starts at 35. It used to be 40. Now they're saying 35. I don't know. Who even cares about the number, right? I think two things are happening. I think one, what happens is we call it, first of all, if you can tell people they're in a crisis, you can sell them a lot of things.
Yes.
To cure their crisis. So we have to be very careful and pay attention to how we may be being manipulated. I raised my all of my kids, but especially my daughter, you know, I have 4 young adult kids now. I raised my daughter to pay attention to how the world is trying to get you to feel badly about yourself so you'll go buy something. Pay attention to the marketing. This is where the billions of dollars get made. As soon as they brainwash you, they've got a customer for life. So I don't believe it's a crisis. I'm writing a book right now, and my belief is when women, this is a very deep aspect, and this in itself could be like a whole, you know, hour, but when women have been removed from all language, even the construction of language, women are not a part of. So when medicine and laws and everything was being decided, it was men, all the rules, all the ways of being. And then all of a sudden, women reach this time in their lives where their hormones are changing and things start to happen. They have no word for it. So they just start to tell women they're in some kind of a crisis. And then we believe that. But as we now are rewriting the story, this book that I am writing, I am proposing that we don't consider this a crisis at all. We're actually, maybe for the first time in our lives, coming awake.
Oh,
And so the men in the world are like, she's in crisis, give her something. I met a man at a party the other night, and he's like, I hope you tell all your women to take hormones, because women who go through menopause are a nightmare to live with. I almost knocked him off the balcony. I was like, you're talking to the wrong person. I said, yeah. And so I put him in, I put him back in his place. But I think what's actually happening is we as women are tired of the bullshit. We're tired of playing games. We're tired of saying something that we think somebody else wants to hear, not what we really mean. We're tired of lowering our standards. We're tired of saying yes when we actually mean no. I think women are finally coming into a place where they're really getting clear on what they want. And maybe the patriarchy doesn't like it, so they tell us we're in a crisis to throw us off, to really then make us think, well, maybe there's something wrong with me. No, sweetheart, she's actually for the first time getting really crystal clear about what she wants in her life.
But to think, because a lot of marriage, the woman started the midlife crisis, or midlife anyway. She started changing, right? Changing the physical, changing clothes. Is sometimes the husband, you know, the partner accept, say, oh, okay, why you changing now? You know, your whole life with me, you not change. Why you change now?
Because we're meant to evolve. It would be just like a tree is constantly growing. The roots are going deeper and wider, and the branches are taking formation. What human is meant to be stagnant? To just, the day you get married, that's the person. They never change. They never evolve. I think we are setting people up for massive disappointment. We're meant to evolve and grow. And something I said to my husband 15 years ago, I was growing at such a rapid rate, and I could see he wasn't. And I said to him, I'll never tell you what to do or how to do it, but I will assure you, I'm walking on this path. I would love to look behind me and see you coming, but if I don't, I'm not stopping. You may get left behind. I'm going to keep going.
Yeah,
That's very interesting, because I feel like a lot of women, they're, you know, stuck in a relationship where they are growing, but their partner is not following, men or women, you know, and that it kind of like, it's hard to keep together when there's like two different paths or two different
direction. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think we have to stop putting so much emphasis on romantic love. I think it's really another way we get really disappointed. We can't expect that one relationship will meet all of our needs, nor should we expect that everything lasts forever. I'm not a proponent. I'm not sitting there championing divorce, but I also believe that sometimes we've just taken each other as far as we can take each other. There doesn't ever have to be a villain. It can just be like, wow, we had a really good run. Those 10 years, those 20 years were amazing. But I think we've kind of taken each other as far as we can on this path.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Doctor, you said about, you know, how we have to be very careful what's being sold to us, because now that's how they make their billions. Do you think that a lot of the crisis, because we saw that we saw one video of you saying how you reached a lot of younger women too that are going through a crisis, and do you think that that crisis is due to the social media? Because now when we go social media, it's so much comparison, so a lot of people go on it and like, oh my god, her life is perfect, look at all she has, and then people feel like their life sucks, and they don't realize that all lives have problems. Do you think that that's another issue too that is leading to that younger people feeling that crisis?
Absolutely. And I think the filters on social media caused a lot of troubles and problems. You know, my daughter's 20 years old and in college, and all of her friends have Botox already and fillers at 20 years old. I mean, that's a, you want to talk about a crisis? That's a crisis.
That's a crisis.
Yes.
That's definitely
Yes.
that's a crisis. Yeah, that's very dangerous, right?
It's very sad. It's really sad. Like we, women now, you know, young girls, I didn't even know that there was such a thing as like plucking eyebrows. I didn't know about like sucking your stomach in when you were at the beach. I didn't know anything about anything. I wouldn't change it for the world. I was so free. And luckily I just was not raised. I was from Ohio. I was not raised in a community or an environment where beauty was the main focus. Right. And so my husband and I were talking about some things last night, and he was like, "You're just so stunning, Amanda." And I said, "Thank you. I appreciate that. But it's the least interesting thing about me." It really is. It's not something I want to, it's really, it's a happenstance of how genetics come together. What I'm most proud of, we're going to talk about physicality. What I'm most proud of is how I've accepted the natural process of aging. That's the thing I'm the most proud of when I look at myself in a picture, in a mirror, that I'm allowing Mother Nature to work her magic on me, and I'm not hiding it.
Yeah, I have another video, right? When you say
Oh yeah, that
about,
you stop coloring your hair.
yeah,
How is that process to you? Because I feel like a lot of women, you know, can't find that freedom of, and they feel like imprisoned on, like they have to look a certain way, they have to fit in a certain beauty pattern that society. How was that process to you, and how did you even start with that? Yeah.
Well, I think for me, you know, I was approaching, I'm 50 now, but when I was 40, I was approaching 40, and I was watching women around me in the same age talk about like what they were getting done. And, oh my gosh, how often do you have to go and get your hair colored now? And having these conversations. And I remember one night coming home from a dinner with a bunch of girlfriends. I walked in, my husband was just sitting there, he's older than me, has already gone gray. And I realized, wow, I don't think I even ever heard him talk about it. It just happened. It was never an issue for him. And here I am running around putting poison into my scalp and every couple of weeks and normalizing it, not even actually thinking that I shouldn't. And I don't know if a switch flipped and I got pissed. I got really pissed that men become more distinguished as they age and women get punished for being human. And I'm a real badass. So in that moment, I was like, screw that. If I continue to go and sit and get my hair colored, I'm part of the problem. Men aren't opening my wallet telling me to do it. I'm doing it. I've believed it. Women are the perpetuators of the toxic beauty culture. So if I wanted there to be a change, I had to walk it out myself first. I'm a very passionately convicted person. When I make a decision, there's no convincing me otherwise. So that was it. I just stopped and I let it happen naturally. And other people were so uncomfortable with it, so much so that people were like, maybe you should just go to the salon and like have it like just done so you don't have to go through the phases. And I said, the phases is the treasure hunt. Every morning in the mirror, when I get to lift up and like see the new patterns of silver coming through, I see aging as a spiritual journey. I am not afraid of dying, just as I'm not afraid of living. I'm not afraid. So there's nothing to run from. There's nothing to hide from. And if I were single, if my husband left me tomorrow, or I decided to leave him, I would never color my hair or get Botox, because I want to be the woman that someone from across the way at a party finds fascinating just simply by seeing me and wants to know more about me. I will never contort myself to fit into a place that would be artificial for me. So it's just a very firmly held belief that is so freeing and so liberating. I wish it for every single woman.
How did you get to this place of self-worth? Because I think you have to, you know, value yourself a lot, to don't let any insecurities come on the way. And we know a lot of women with a lot of insecurities, and they can't feel like worthy and happy because their self-worth is so low. How can they build that self-worth, or like how did you get to that point of having that confidence?
That's my mastermind program that I sell, right? That women work with me for a 6-month journey. It is a very deep and very long. It starts all the way back to when they were in their mother's womb. I take them on an ancestral healing journey. And then before we even get into starting to break it all down, I help them understand, what is it that you actually believe about your humanity? If you close your eyes with one hand on your heart and one hand on your womb space, and I take them on this beautiful meditative journey, and I ask them, do you fundamentally, in your cells, in your blood, in your body, do you fundamentally believe that any woman's life is more worthy than another woman? Regardless of shape, size, color, skin, place of origin, where she was born, level of access to money. And every woman is like weeping. And they're like, no, every woman is born worthy. Every human is born worthy. Do you know what it takes for a human life to even exist? Like, it's the stars, it's the cosmos, it's magic. So to defile my own altar is such a sin. And so when I get women into this place of understanding, okay, great. So you believe that every human life is worthy. just as it is, if it never changed anything. Yes, I do. Okay, great. Now we're going to back it up. We're going to go one belief system at a time. And we're going to look at where you inherited the belief that because your hips are the size that they are, that you're not worthy of love. Where did you absorb that? Because that's not yours. Because you just told me everybody's worthy. And it is very long and very deep and very emotional. And we back women out into hearing where it came from, either a religion or something a father said to them or an uncle or somebody at school. And I help them divest and understand that was never your belief. You absorbed it and took it on to think it was yours. But that's not how you were born into this world. You didn't actually believe that. You were brainwashed. So let's burn it down. And that's where the assassin priestess comes in. That's where we burn all those beliefs down. That's how you get free. But it's a process.
Absolutely. Yeah. Me and Chris are very, big believers that our life is shaped by our belief system, like, right, where everything that we were exposed, especially on the childhood, right? That's a lot of people have issues with self-worth because their parents didn't love them enough or didn't give them enough attention, right? I see that a lot because of a lot of my clients, their social medias, they're influencers, they are, people look at them like, wow, she's so beautiful, she's like super successful, but they are crumbling inside because they don't feel loved, and they find that through beauty, that's how they are going to get their love. Do you think that?
Yeah, it's such a shallow existence. Yeah, it's really, and there's no, it's a moving train, right? The target of expectation is constantly moving. So you'll never arrive at feeling loved. There's nothing. There's not a single thing you can ever purchase in this lifetime that will give you love. There's not a single relationship that will give you love. When I fell profoundly in love with myself 5 years ago, there was a moment, something happened that's too long to share here. But when it happened, I have the exact memory. I know what I was wearing, where I was when it all hit me. It was overwhelming for days. I could not stop crying. It was overwhelming. I was abandoned by my father. He left and moved down the street and started a new family and pretended that I didn't exist anymore. And I would have to see him in public, and he would turn and pretend he didn't know who I was. And so I had constant weekly reminders of not being seen, not being loved. And then my mother's depression that followed because after that, so I really felt unmothered, unfathered, really lost and confused and very unworthy for a very long time. And so when it happened, when I fell so profoundly in love with myself, I understood for the first time what self-love meant. And I also understood that my self-love, the way my husband loves me, will never touch the way I love myself. The way my kids love me will never touch the way I love myself, because there's nobody who knows me as intimately as I know me. There's no one who treats me exactly the way I want to treat myself to be treated. So we relieve other people of so much burden when we understand, like, wow, I get to be radically responsible for my life and my feelings and my emotions. And it's a joy to be in a relationship with a woman who really, really loves herself. And she's not just seeking and needy.
And that's not being like selfish, right? Because a lot of people might say, oh, you're self-love, you're like being selfish.
No, you need to love yourself first to give love, right?
Yeah, would you want to raise your daughters, your 6 daughters, to not love themselves? Does that sound like a good idea? It's like,
no.
Yeah.
But when we somehow get to adult age and we're like, oh, I shouldn't love myself too much. That's how we keep women starving, right? And they stay in breadcrumb relationships where it's not even that great, because they're like, well, at least he like looked at me and smiled the other day. It's like, when you love yourself, you are a very potent woman. You don't put up with much of anything anymore, because you know that the way you feel and carry yourself in this lifetime has to be equally matched or more to even be in a relationship with you.
That is, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Other day, that's when I saw you the first time. I on the Instagram when I saw your video, because right now your video and Reels is very a lot of people, right, reach you, right? A lot of young girls. And I showed Bia the video.
Yeah, she was like, Bia, look
at this woman. I love it. Oh my gosh, because
your message,
your message, you say, I have a 50 years old. You say about the clothes you wear. It doesn't matter if you put a tank top, your skirt, and the people judge you about your age and the clothes you use. They say, Beatrice, this happened with me.
Yeah.
Yes, as if there's an expiration date that says, okay, now you're this age. You're not supposed to have long hair. You're not supposed to dress that way. You're not supposed to be too sensual or too sexy anymore. No.
I think it's society tried to put a lot of labels, and we all try to fit in to feel loved or feel right.
No, the people say
That was it.
after 40s, you
That-
can't be
yeah.
sexy anymore.
Oh, my intention is I'm going to live to 120 and I'll be that in my own version. It's like I picture myself as like long gray hair and just
Love
what
it.
I find to be sexy about women of all ages. It's never for me. It's never how she looks. I've seen some of the most physically stunning women who are so insecure that they're not attractive. The sexiest women I meet are the women who are the most liberated. That inner light shining through, it's such an attractive quality. It magnetizes people to them. That's the radiance that people are looking for, men included. It's not the woman who thinks she looks so perfect and she's wearing her Spanx and she can't breathe. She can't even eat one piece of broccoli. It's like, no, we want the woman who's free. You know, and that's what my husband told me when we met, and we were young when we met, you know, but he's like, when I looked over at you at that beach and he's like, oh my God, your belly was distended. You were drinking a beer. You didn't even like have proper posture and you were laughing so hard. He's like, I'd only dated girls who worried so much about their hair and the humidity and took an hour to get ready to even leave the house to go get sandwiches. And he's like, just being around you is so freeing. Everything just feels so free. And so I think that ultimately we think men want a certain thing. They want our liberation. That's so sexy.
That is true. And the opposite is true as well, because if you think about men, if they are too much like, just thinking about their beauty, just thinking about how they should act and feel and very like robotic, we wouldn't like that as well, right? So I think it goes both ways. And we women, sometimes we don't even realize about that because we think about so much like we need to be perfect, right? And it goes both ways.
Yeah, I think the most powerful thing that we can do is like really be in the full range of our emotions and just work with that energy. I think that's the most perfect thing we can do.
Yes.
I love it. I love when you go to the Costa Rica with your retreat. Oh,
you have a retreat in Costa Rica?
I did. Yeah, a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I watch everything.
Do you have, how often do you have that retreat, or?
The next one's coming in a few months. We're going to announce it. I'm announcing something else this week, and then I'm going to announce that. There's so many beautiful things happening right now.
Is this retreat for all women, all ages, or is just, can you tell me?
Yes, it really is, because, my retreats are a little bit more focused on just femininity as a whole and for a modern day woman, right? In a patriarchal world, and how to get more in touch with her worth and her love. And I use a lot of ancient rituals to teach them how to get there. And then they can take those practices home and use them. And it's very unconventional. It is not something that we see in the mainstream. It's not really even on my social media, because I believe you have to be willing to buy the plane ticket, to book the hotel, come halfway across the world. Then I know you're ready. And only those people am I willing to showcase these things to.
How many days you stay there with the women?
5.
5 days.
5 days.
Wow.
If people want more information about it, do they contact you, or they go on your website?
My website, Hanson.com. And then, we announce everything is announced on Instagram. So if somebody was following me, Midlife Muse, everything shows up there.
Okay. And then also you mentioned about your program that you coach like for 6 months. Is that on your website as well? If people are interested in that.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
1-on-1 too, right?
What's that?
You have a 1-on-1
consultations or not?
I do have some one-on-ones, but they're all full right now. It's a minimum of 6 months to a year to work with me. And those are women who are really committed. It's a very big investment, financial investment and emotional investment.
I love it.
Okay,
I
thank
love
you
it,
so
Dr.
much,
Amanda.
Dr. Amanda. It was such a pleasure to, we could be here talking for hours and hours.
Oh my
because,
God.
yeah, all the subjects is like,
There's so much to talk about, right?
Yes, you
yes,
know, I think, a lot of, a lot of women,
are struggling right now, and
Yeah.
they definitely need that awakening and that guidance, because yeah, we see nowadays, like I see Chrissy, a lot of our clients, they're like so sad and depressed inside, and outside they show that they're happy on social media. And
That is exactly right. And that's who I'm writing my book for, is that woman who she's in the water and you can just see her head, right? And she's in the pool and she's smiling and she's just, everything seems to be so great. But underwater, her arms and her legs are treading so fast because she's trying to figure out what to do with her life. She's trying to figure out, like, it's this, every woman I talk to has a sense that something is missing. There's this aching, ancient sense that something is missing and she can't put her finger on it. And 9 times out of 10, every client I ever work with says at the end, "You were right, Amanda. I was missing from my own life." Every woman she's what she's missing, because we don't raise women to fall in love with themselves and to source everything from within. Once we teach women how to do that, that's the piece that was missing.
guys, this is gold. What Dr. Amanda just said is gold, right? You're the missing piece.
I'm so
That's-
glad because
yeah.
I found Dr. Amanda. I'm so glad, Dr. Amanda. Oh my God.
She loves
I
it.
love
I love
it.
it.
I love Dr. Amanda.
I love you both too for having me and opening this conversation up and spreading it to your community. It's so important. And I do feel hopeful. I must say, I do feel hopeful, just simply by the reactions and feedback, especially from the women are, my age, but even I'm so shocked by the younger generation. They all call me mom and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I needed somebody like you." And I'm very hopeful that we are going to have an awakening. We're going to start to really come to grips and understand that we can't continue the way we're going. Nobody's happy.
That's true.
That's true.
Yes, and you are a light to this world, so we are very thankful to have in our podcast. And yeah, the work that you're doing is amazing. And that, yeah, we are so glad to connect, and that you might continue blessing so many women's lives like you've been doing.
The young women too.
Yes.
The young women too. Love it.
Yes. Thank you both so much.
So much. Thank you. We appreciate it.